second half of your life. Today's show is sponsored by Find Houston Senior Care, your one-stop shop for everything senior care and senior living in the greater Houston area. Visit findhoustonseniorcare.com today. And now, here's your host, Catherine Watson. Welcome, everybody, and I'm glad you've joined us at the Life After 50 show. My goal here with this show is to just give you lots of information that you might need after age 50. And I'm over that hump quite a bit, so I know the things that we need to know about. And one of them is what we're going to be talking about today. And that is residential care homes. Now, some of you may have heard of that. You may not have, but it's an option for senior living that a lot of times people are not aware of, or maybe they just don't know what they are. They are also sometimes referred to as a personal care home or a small assisted living home. And I have brought on today Ann Garcia. I've known Ann for quite a while. Hi, Ann. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Glad to have you.
To be here.
Yes, and we're delighted to have you because you own several, in fact, 4, I believe, residential care homes in the greater Houston area. And you've been doing this for a while now. So you understand what it is and what people need to know about residential care homes. I think my mother-in-law lived in a residential care home for several years, and it was the best option for her. Before we get into talking about residential care homes, though, I want you to know who Ann is. And Ann, I'm just going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, what your background is, and why you got into this business.
Okay. So my name is Ann Garcia. Hello, everyone. I am a registered nurse. And before I came and hopped onto the assisted living community, I was a bedside nurse, a critical care nurse in the medical center. I worked there for 11 years. And I decided, it's time to move on. It's time to grow. And so I went over and actually took over an active business of residential care homes in the Bel Air area in Houston, Texas. And I just loved it. The moment I stepped into it, I said, this is for me. This is what I want to do. I have so much passion and heart about it. And so 2 years later, here I am, continuing and servicing the seniors of Houston, Texas, and the neighboring cities. I also want to share that being in this field, you have to have the heart. It's not just business. It's not just. And I always want to tell that to people who thinks that I want to do that. This is what I think I can do it. Have the heart, do what is right, and you'll do very well at it.
And you are so right. I go out, of course, I have the care home list, which you're a part of, and I go out and interview owners of these care homes. And a number of times I've interviewed people who are investors who really don't have a heart for the business, and you can tell immediately. And I know that their business is not going to last. In order for your business to last, you have got to have a heart for it. You've got to be what I call a heart-centered professional. And I think that's why I see a lot of nurses go into this. Not all of the care homes are run by nurses, but a lot of them are. And I think that's why, because everybody knows nurses have heart, right? That's why they're helpers. They're helper type people. And you got into business to serve and to help people.
To continue what I studied for, to be more, to have that relationship, that more closer relationship with your patients. Because when you're in the hospital, they come and go, which is fine, and I learned so much while I was working at the bedside. But then I used all that knowledge and skills and took that with me and started and continued it uh, with Comfort Care. So that
Right.
has been very helpful. Um,
So
after
just tell us what a residential care home is for people that don't know what we're even talking about here.
Okay, a residential care home is a small type of assisted living. You can be licensed, you can be unlicensed. Licensed assisted living has to have uh, three or below residents.
Mm,
Unlicensed, I'm sorry.
unlicensed.
You
Right,
can be
right.
unlicensed and have a personal care home if you have three or less residents. Now, if you have more than that, you have to be licensed. Up to 16 beds is the max for a small assisted living.
And
Um,
your license, Anne, is it the same as a license for a big facility like the Brookdales and the Atrias and all of that? Do you have to follow the same rules that a large facility would follow?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have standards that are same as their standards that we have to follow. We are screened and surveyed by the state of Texas frequently. I want to say every year, every 2 years, they come and check and survey us. Um, we have protocols and just policies that same as these big facilities have to follow and abide.
Mm,
So, and we like that.
yeah.
We absolutely like that because it just makes sure that everybody's safe and everybody is taken care of, and we have to do what is right for our patients, for our
And
residents.
and speaking as a family, because we had my mother-in-law in a residential care home for several years and all. Speaking from a family viewpoint, it's comforting to know that there is an oversight. The state is coming in and checking, and they're making sure that your home is designed correctly and it has um, uh, the system for fire alarms and all of the different things that you have to run a safe and effective um, facility. And it also checks to make sure that the residents are being taken care of. I know you probably have the ombudsman visit your property. Well, before COVID, you did. And
Yes,
you had the ombudsman visit regularly to make sure that the residents were getting their needs met, correct?
absolutely right. They
Yeah.
can come anytime, and their visits are always unannounced. And
Hmm.
when they come, you just have to show up and explain to them what you're doing. And so, they really are here for our residents. They're there
Hmm.
for a reason. They're there for the safety of our residents. And I just want to say, for families that are looking at small assisted livings, the licensed one are better all
Hmm.
the time. And I have no offense on the small ones, that are unlicensed, because I know how hard it is to get licensed. But the licensed ones do have standards,
Hmm.
policies, and procedures, and is being followed by the state. So
Yeah.
that's a good
I,
thing.
I have a few of the unlicensed on my list, Anne, but I'm very, very picky. And I have turned down many, both licensed and unlicensed, I've turned down because, I want to keep the list clean with the best homes out there. So let's talk about the benefits because there's a lot of benefits to being in a smaller environment.
Okay. And good question, because I always try to tell this and explain this to the families. In a smaller environment, you have that consistency of caregivers. You know, you have the same person showing up the same day. I mean, the same week, the same every day. You have the same caregiver. Not all the time, but you have the consistency of having the exact same person taking care of you, which eventually becomes your family. And you have a relationship with them. They know you to a point where if you have a change, or they seem like, or if you feel like you're down and you need some more attention, they'll eventually know.
Mhm.
um, we've had some staff that have been with us 20, 28 years.
That's
It's just,
amazing. In this industry, Anne, You're kidding me. In this industry, that is unheard of because it's almost like a revolving door with
Exactly.
caregivers for many of these larger facilities. So that's just really great, great.
That's what I always hear from families who come from bigger facilities, that eventually their mom or dad needs more attention and more care. They come looking for a different option, and people like you or other
Mhm.
companies or other, resources direct them to us, and then they're just surprised and amazed, and sometimes they say, "Oh, how come we haven't heard of you? Where have you been? We've been here." It's just that not so many people hear or know about us. So when
Yeah.
they get to a point where their mom or dad needs a lot of attention, a lot of care, a lot of, not just medical, personal care, um, a small assisted living is always a good option because there is that small environment. It's easy for them to reach the administrator, manage
Mhm.
if they have concerns, if they want something done, they have questions, they can just text me, text the manager, and we can easily, resolve it, talk about
Right.
it, plan about it. And that has always been very helpful for them. I've been very happy
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that kind of care.
And that's one of the things that I loved as well. Are you hearing a little reverb with me?
I do.
Okay, hold on a minute. Go ahead and carry on the conversation. I'm going to get a headset.
Okay. So some families, you'll be surprised, doesn't know that we exist. One guy, there was actually, it's so funny. We had a patient about 2 weeks ago. We are taking patient despite the pandemic because we just have to. We're taking extra precautions. Uh, been very strict with who we admit and who we accept. But there was the ambulance company that came in and they was delivering the patient, and they go, "Oh, what is this? We are a personal care home." And so I was there facilitating, and then they're like, "Really? Wow, we're impressed." And it was just a random, and they're just walking in, and I go, "Yeah, I mean, we've been here. Why?" They said, this is what a residential care home should look like." She said, "We've
Mhm.
been to others, and we just, oh man, you don't even want to know." And I was like, "Well, thank you very much, to compliment."
Yeah, all residential care homes are not created equal. So just like any of the big homes, they're not all created equal. You have to look, you have to do your research and visit several different ones. You don't want to go crazy and try to visit 10 or 12 because you'll just overwhelm yourself. But get somebody to help direct you. Go to the care home list on Find Houston Senior Care, look at a few, and go visit two or three and talk to them. One thing I always was impressed with and I like about your home is because you're a nurse, it gives the family an extra feeling of security. You have some medical knowledge. You're going to know if something is really wrong. And you're going to be able to alert me. You're going to be able to alert the doctor. You're going to pick up on those things. And you probably, because you're a nurse, have trained your staff to really notice all of those subtle changes. My mother in law was plagued with UTIs, urinary tract infections, which
Very
I know
common.
a lot of people are.
Very common. We do have families that have reached out to me and said, "Oh, the caregiver." And she goes, "I thought she was a nurse. She talked like a nurse. She's very confident." I said, "No, she's one of our staff. She's trained
Mhm.
by a nurse. That's why she knows what they're looking for." And every time we have
Exactly.
an incident or something happens, I try to educate, share
Mhm.
that knowledge. I explain to my staff in a simple way that they can understand. That way, next time, if something like that happens, they know what to do and they know what to expect. The good thing about me being a nurse also and owning this residential care homes is that we have a relationship with a geriatrician and a nurse practitioner who comes to our homes. So families doesn't have to worry about taking them out to clinics and waiting
Yeah.
there. They have an option. Now, I'm not saying they can't do that. They can do that, but they have an option to sign up
Mhm.
with them because they come to our homes. And so if ever there's a change, or a
Mhm.
concern, or just some questions, we have this relationship with this team, and we can just text them, call them in the middle of the night, and avoid hospital trips. That's
Mhm.
one thing that really agitates, and I want to say overwhelms the families, because every little change that could be avoided of going to the hospital just can't be avoided, because you have to take them out to the hospital. Now, with the
Right.
clinical experience that we have, and by doing this so many years, we've seen some things that, we can fix this here, because we're
Mhm.
nurses, and because we have a daily nursing visit to all of.
Right. And that's what makes the difference. That's what makes the difference because you're seeing them on a regular basis. You notice the subtle changes that are happening before something gets out of control. And I
Absolutely.
think that's the key to keeping seniors as healthy as possible in their later years.
Absolutely.
And avoiding, like you said, those trips to the hospital. Nobody out there wants to go to the hospital. Even before COVID, we didn't want to go to the hospital with our
Absolutely.
senior loved one. It's just not a pleasant experience for them, for the families, for anybody. So if you can avoid those hospital visits and you can have a team come in and assess the situation and figure out what needs to be
Yeah.
done, nip it in the bud,
Let's
you
do
know?
it. And that's
Yeah,
what we do. Now, we do have circumstances that we have to really send them out to a hospital. Like, just like if it's a
of
stroke like
course.
symptoms or a seizure, we don't take that for granted. We take it very, very seriously. So that definitely has to be addressed. But if it's something that we know that, we do labs, diagnostic
Mhm.
tests inside our homes. We have companies that we have relationship with, and we have contacts that can do that, and it saves us a lot, hospital trips.
It's amazing what they can do in the home now. Oh my gosh. I was interviewing a company and they bring x-ray machines and
Yeah,
they can do all kinds of things in the home. And I just think that's amazing and wonderful. And I think we're going to see more of that, especially since COVID-19 popped in. And we're going to talk about that. So how has COVID-19 changed senior living? We know it has, right?
it has big time changed senior living and assisted living care. We have families that come almost every day and
Mhm.
helps with their loved ones, visits, holds their hand, just kind of be present, try to be there every meal, and all of a sudden that has had to stop. It's
Mhm.
frustrating. It's depressing. Um, a lot of standards have changed, just like being on lockdown. You have to get screened before coming in. All the staff has to get screened before coming in. We're taking extra time cleaning, disinfecting the walls, the tables, every single thing, which has to be done, and we don't mind doing. But that takes a huge chunk of our time, just because
Mhm.
it has to be done. Mostly the effect on our residents, with their families not being able to come and visit, is
Mhm.
really the concern. And
Yeah.
it's so sad. It's the hardest one
Right.
to
Right.
accept, and just very challenging. It's
But
very.
Anne, I still say even though yes, those are challenges, I still think that the small assisted living is a much better place. Let's talk about that because the large facilities, what we saw happening when COVID hit, these residents were stuck in their bedrooms and meals were delivered to them. They could not eat with their friends anymore. They had no activities, all of that. What happened in the smaller residential care homes? Did you stick them in their bedroom? Or
Yeah,
were you allowed to have them out in the middle of the house?
we cannot stick them in the bedroom. That's just
Yeah.
not, especially when we have patients with memory care issues. That's just impossible, and that's just not right. So
Mhm.
we do practice and observe social distancing. We take turns in coming out and eating on the table. They see the same people, they see the same staff. We just keep them 6 feet apart or more. They still
Mhm.
come to the living room, they watch TV together, just 6 feet apart or more. Now,
Yeah.
everybody wants to do that at the same time. So, we kind of play it by ear.
Mhm.
What does Laura want to do? What does Kathy want to do? So we
Mhm.
kind of play it by ear, and we take turns into doing that kind of activities that will stimulate them, and we'll have a little interaction and socialization with the other residents and staff.
And I love what you just said. You said what Laura wants to do, what Kathy wants to do. And that's, I think, the main thing that I think is so great about the smaller homes. You personalize the care to the resident. It's all about the resident centered care. It's not, here's our big schedule and you need to fit into our schedule. No, you fit into their schedule and their needs. And I love that.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's what we do. We can't change that. Even if they have dementia, it'll still show
Correct.
that little bit of personality that they've had before they've had this cognitive issue. Um,
Mhm,
we try to cater to that. That is part of our admission assessment, is to know what Laura wants. What is her
mhm,
hobby? What does she like to eat? What does her day look like? We try to put them on a routine. That way
mhm,
they all wake up together, they all sit together. We put them on a routine because it's just healthy for them. But otherwise, if they like painting, if they like drawing, if they like crafts or baking, we give it to them. We let them
mhm.
do that, continue to do that. That's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I love that. My mother-in-law was a bit of a rebel. She did not want to follow somebody else's timeline and schedule and all of that. So she was really resistant to that. And the smaller homes were able to give her a little flexibility.
Absolutely.
They knew that she was not one to jump up in the morning and go running. They knew that she had to take her time. So they made sure they got her up in plenty of time, that she had time to move slowly at her pace, getting ready. And of course, there was somebody to assist her. And that's another big plus. My mother in law had rheumatoid arthritis really bad. And so doing little things like putting on makeup and all was really hard for her, and having somebody to help with those grooming duties that
Oh
were
my,
still important to her. She cared about how she looked, and making sure that she had the right clothes and helping her to get dressed and all of that. That was so important. And we never had to worry about that. There was always somebody dedicated to helping her do all of these things. And that we were really grateful for, because it made a difference for her. And then by the time it was time for breakfast, she was ready, to go out and meet the rest of the residents and enjoy. And she was a very social creature, so she enjoyed visiting and seeing the other residents.
that's a good thing. And that's what small assisted livings like us can do and provide for your families. We try to cater to what their needs are, to how they were before. We try to preserve that,
Hmm.
try to continue that quality of life as much as we can, how it was before. And we
Hmm.
try to make them comfortable, clean, cared for, and happy. That's the goal. Safe,
That's the goal.
safe
Yeah.
and happy for everybody.
And typically, how many caregivers do you have for residents? How many residents to each caregiver?
Usually, during the day, we have two caregivers, and during the night, we have one awake caregiver. Um,
And this is for how many people?
we are licensed for 10. Some of
Okay.
our homes are licensed between 8 to 10.
Okay.
So sometimes we're not always
So
full
one
during,
caregiver per every 4 or 5 people.
yes,
And
right.
that's a much, much higher ratio than you're going to get in a big facility. In the big facilities, it's going to be much higher. The
One is
lowest they may quote you one for every 8 people, but it's really probably less than that because they might be counting in other staff. I know I used to work for a large assisted living and everybody was counted. The accountant was counted, the receptionist was counted. They counted everybody when they talked to the families and said, oh, we have, this many staff to, and they would say staff, they wouldn't say caregivers, they would say staff, but they led you to believe that it was caregivers. It's not. So you've got to really clarify that. How many actual caregivers do you have? So it makes a difference, right?
One is
Yeah.
to 4 or 5. That's it.
So, and what should families be looking for in an assisted living facility? Whether they're looking for a big one or a little one, what should they be looking for? What are some of the main things that they should pay attention to?
Here's what I think. Because I'm a nurse, I know what I'm looking for, and I know and I can tell the good ones from the others that are just okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I look for when I do a tour is the relationship, the interpersonal relationship of the staff and the residents.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that. I want to see how they care for them. I want to see just, small little gestures. You can tell if the staff is overwhelmed, if the staff is happy that they're working there. You can absolutely feel that environment when you go on a tour. I would pay attention to the relationship. I would pay attention to the number of years that the business has been active. And, if you have a chance, I know it's not always the case, but if you can talk to other families
Mm-hmm.
and or read reviews, do your research,
Do
read
your
reviews.
research.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What
Yeah.
does other families say about the residential care home that you're about to
Mm-hmm.
put mom or dad in? Is it licensed?
Mm-hmm.
Are there
Yeah.
standards, protocols that they follow?
Yeah.
And then write your questions down. Ask as many questions as you can. And if you like the answers and you feel like the administrator or the manager is, telling you what you're supposed to get and care that you're supposed to receive, then go for it. It's always, and I always say this to the families. If you come sign up with us, if you have mom and dad come to us and you're not happy with us, you can always have other options. There's always
Mm-hmm.
other facilities out there. We don't try to hold you. If you think that there are other places that can give you the best or better care for your loved ones, please, we will never try to hold you or
Mm-hmm.
hold anything against you. It's nothing personal. We just want what is best for your loved one. So
Right.
it's not
Right.
always the case. I've never had that happen.
You've got to find the right fit. You've got
Yes,
to find the right fit. Each home has its own personality, so to
exactly.
speak, and you've got to find that right fit. But I always tell people the number one thing that you need to look for is the smiles. And I'm not talking about the smiles on the residents' faces because sometimes, due to physical problems they may have, they may not be able to smile. Okay, or they may have pain or whatever on the day that you visit. They may not be able to, but the staff, look at the staff. If they're smiling, if they seem to be having a good time, then you're in a good place. Because let me tell you, when I get there, if I ever get there, I want a caregiver that's happy taking
Exactly.
care of me. I don't want somebody that's miserable, that's grumpy, that doesn't want to be there. I want somebody that's happy. And you can tell, like you said, you can tell the energy of the place when you walk in. You'll get a sense real quick, and you can tell whether they're just putting on a show for you or whether they're really engaging with that person. So just notice, when you're sitting down and visiting with the person that is showing you around the home, just let your eyes wander and notice what's going on around you. And that will tell you so much. That will tell you volumes, It really will. We had a couple of visitors that showed up on the show this morning. Leslie Starry. Hi, Leslie. Thanks for coming in and visiting. If you have any questions, let us know. I believe Leslie is in hospice. So she goes in these homes a lot and is familiar. You know Leslie?
No, I don't. I don't mind
Okay.
meeting her.
And then Chelsea Edwards, she has a residential care home in town also, Tower Oaks, I believe it's called. So Chelsea, thank you for coming on the show. She does a good job as well. So, anything else that you can think of that families should pay attention to? Questions that they might want to ask?
Um, it's not always the case, but families try to look, what they look for in homes is not always what mom and dad needs. So I want to say, look very closely. Assess mom and dad. Ask questions if you don't feel comfortable. You have resources in the hospital, in the facilities. You have Find Houston Senior Care. Um, Look online. You can Google
Mhm.
and research about the places that you have available around you, around your area. That you
And
can.
I always tell people, go on Facebook and ask your friends, hey, does anybody know? I'm thinking of putting mom at Come for Care. Who knows about this place? You'll be surprised at how many
Yeah,
people will pop up and say, oh, my friend's friend, or somebody. And
yeah,
you'll get connected with people who actually had experience and they can give you the real scoop. And
absolutely.
I,
Especially if
I
they live in the area, because we've got a lot of residents from the area that their families
exactly.
live a mile or two away, and they can
Mhm.
always give you a recommendation and tell you what their experience was with us.
That's right. That's
Just
right.
do your research. Do your research. Is
Mhm.
this place best for mom? Is this place you think can offer what your needs are, what mom, not yours, but mom and dad's needs are. Be
Mhm.
careful on the chandeliers and the red carpets. Just
It's not about how it looks, okay? It's about the care. You're purchasing care. That's the number one thing. You're purchasing care. It can be pretty too. I mean, we've got some homes that are just absolutely drop dead gorgeous and they give good care. And I've seen ones that are absolutely drop dead gorgeous and they skimp on the care. So it's all about the care. You've got to
exactly.
pay attention to the care. What is the care that's being given? And like you said, you've got people that have worked with you for a long time. Longevity is another thing I would say to ask about. Now, there's going to be turnover. You're going to have turnover sometimes too, but overall, you want to see how long has this person been in business and how often is the staff turned over. And that's going to tell you whether the staff's happy there or not, too.
Absolutely. We have families
Yeah.
that have direct numbers with to our staff. Like they text them on their birthdays.
Uh-huh.
That kind of relationship. It
Oh,
just makes
they
them
do. Yeah, we got close with the residents that were at the home with my mother-in-law. Yeah, we got close with them and we got to know their
their
families. It
family.
becomes a big extended family. It really does
And they
because
stay in contact even after their parents pass away. They still in contact and help each other out, and they've just become good friends. So
mhm,
that's a good way to connect and have this kind of relationship, family like relationship in a smaller environment. You have
right.
kind of families that eventually become residents, families that eventually becomes your family. So
Mhm.
that's a very good environment for them.
Yeah, it is. It is. So getting back before we close here, I want to touch base on the COVID-19 situation because I know I've been reading about there's been some changes and they're starting to relax the visitation. Tell me about that and has it affected your home and how it has or has not?
So for the longest time, we've been asking. I'm a member of Torch, and so we have this meeting every week, almost every week. And so
And
state.
Torch, by the way, is Texas Organization for Residential Care Homes,
Yes,
right?
yes. And so I've been following them, just getting advice and teaming up with the other residential care home owners because together we're stronger, especially in
Right.
this type of crisis. So we share each other's experiences, and we try to help each other out. And so we've been trying to open up our doors and slowly have visitors in. If
Mhm.
that was allowed, of course, the state said no, and it was for the safety of our residents. And I think about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, they said you can have visitors, only
Mhm.
open window visits, has to be
Mhm.
social distance, everybody wears a mask.
Mhm.
Um, but the families cannot come in, or you can do porch visits. But at the
Mhm.
same time, social distance, no physical contact, everybody wears a mask. That has been very helpful.
Mhm.
I want to say it's better than nothing. Um, it's difficult because we have other families that just cannot help it. I mean, they have their arms like this, and I
Yeah.
wish we could, I wish we could just we're hug we're hug people. We like to hug.
Exactly, exactly. That would be the hardest thing for me, I think, to go in because I used to go in and not only would I hug my mother-in-law, I'd hug the other residents as well because we
Exactly.
got to know them well and we got to be family. And, that would be so hard.
So it's like, and with the patients, with the residents that we have that have memory issues, so we take them out where they're in a wheelchair and they recognize, they may
Mhm.
not know what day it is, what time is it, but they recognize their daughter. And even if you try to explain to them, you can't touch, no hugging, we're just going to see, we're going to wave, we're going to talk a little bit. And they go out and they're like, oh,
Yeah,
oh, it's like, oh,
right.
hi. And the
Mhm.
families, thank God we have good families, and they just, they understand. And even if I know it's hard for them, but they try to space it out and just,
Breaks your
it's
heart.
okay. Yeah, it breaks your heart. It breaks your
Yeah, yeah.
heart. But very
So
much
it's relaxed a little bit
it did.
and
It's relaxed
hopefully
it
hopefully down the road.
down the road.
Oh,
We get
and
to,
it's been a challenge. Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God.
But again, the big plus is your residents do have that connection with the care staff, and it's the same care staff over and over, and they have the connection with the other people in the home, and that is helpful. At least they're not isolated, and really, really feeling the loneliness. So that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, and we are about out of time. So I
Okay.
want to make sure that people can contact you. Ann's homes are in Bel Air
Houston.
and Houston.
I have two, about Bel Air and 59, that area.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. And her email address, and I'm gonna say it out because this will go to a podcast later. So it's Ann Garcia. That's AnnGarcia at CF as in Frank, C as in cat, A S as in Sam, S as in Sam, ISTED, living, LIVING .info, and that is a long one, Ann. But
Long.
it's here and it will be in the show notes on the podcast. So if you didn't catch it, you can look at the show notes and get that. I also want to put up Ann's phone number. So if you want to reach out directly by phone, you can give her a call at 713 644
664.
4. I'm sorry, did I say it wrong? 664. Thank you. 713 664 4677. Again, that's 713 664 4677. And again, I'll put that in the show notes as well. If you're needing a residential care home, maybe you're up in the Woodlands or you're in Cypress or way down in Sugar Land or something like that, you can go to findhoustonseniorcare.com, click on the care home list, and you'll find a list of homes that we think are good. We do suggest that you do your own due diligence as well, but I have visited all of the homes and am very picky about it because I want it to be somewhere that I would have been comfortable putting my mother-in-law. So, all right, I think that's about it, Ann. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here, and thank you for inviting me. And I'm so happy I get to do this talk with you.
Yeah, I'm thrilled you were on our show today. So thanks again for sharing this information.
Oh, no problem. I love it. I love it. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, and next week we are going to be talking about how to stay in your home with a service that might help keep you safe. All right, so stay tuned to the Life After 50 show every Wednesday. Welcome to the Life After 50 show, helping you navigate the second half of your life. Today's show is sponsored by Find Houston Senior Care, your one-stop shop for everything senior care and